morning to the Insta chat today with Sahar Mansoor here. And I'm thrilled to talk to a young entrepreneur who is aiming at really what zero waste would mean for the planet and for each one of us. Because it all starts at the individual, it all starts with the self. And when each one of us is aware and practices what is understood as a zero waste knowledge or a system, can it only become a part of the planet. And I'm really keen to hear the views of Sahar Mansoor while we are hosting and organizing the fashion colloquium here in Jaipur from 26th to 30th of January. And we would be talking about responsible fashion. And while we talk about fashion, fashion goes and works in all domains of our life. You talk about, our interiors, our spaces. We talk about the products that we use. We talk about the clothing that we change every day, every moment. And how important it is to have a lifestyle which is so really aimed at really being conscious that we have a footprint on the planet, and a footprint that each one of us leaves is the true footprint that the planet actually owns. So the awareness at an individual level is really important to be able to really make an impact at the global level. So I'm really waiting for, Sahar to join us. And meanwhile, stay tuned with the Fashion Colloquium. The registrations are open and it's a 5-day event. So with an opening of a fashion show and an installation at the Amir Fort, followed by a panel discussion on heritage, stories of change, and our shared future with ace fashion designer Manish Malhotra and Professor Ian King from the University of Arts London and Professor Anish Krame from the University of Antwerp. We have 80 plus speakers, and amongst them are 60 researchers from 15 countries who are going to be visiting us to Jaipur in our beautiful pink city in the month of January, the end of January. And we're really looking forward to have them amongst us who are going to be really sharing their views on responsible fashion, and a lot of them around zero waste too. Hi Sahar, this is Archana Surana here.
Hi Surana, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So it's really fun to see what you're doing. And when young people talk about zero waste, and somebody who's traveled and is a globetrotter, have been in the West, where, I have specifically felt that, abundance has really spoiled them. Huh? So, yes. And when you look at whether it's food or anything that goes, the moment you've just used it, it really goes into the dump yard. And I think when young people like you who've been across and you've studied in the West and are really, really careful and bringing it into your lifestyle with a business model that's around zero waste, it really makes sense that you are truly an influencer for so many. Yeah. So let me know about yourself, what you do and how you plan to go about. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Archana, for that really generous introduction. So I'm Sahar Mansoor, and essentially I'm trying to live a zero-waste lifestyle. And that for me is just living a lifestyle that's in alignment with my value and trying to reduce the waste as less as possible. So primarily, this is most of the trash that I've produced in the past 3 years.
Wow.
And while honestly reflecting on my lifestyle, I think going zero waste is not that crazy and that radical. I think it is traditionally Indian. If you do look at the lifestyle that our grandparents lived, probably all of our nannies, eyes and aunties were probably zero waste. And we just lived so sustainably. So I think being sustainable is actually in our Indian DNA. But, we've kind of, along the way, adopted models of the West, whether it is, urbanization, we want that to go coffee in the morning, we want quick and easy meals or that to go food. And we've kind of adopted these models. But actually, if you look at, we have the different models. We have the retailers that we got staff. So I think in lots of ways, we're trying to see how we can best go back to our roots, while also having a business that's sustainable, that employs women, and shows that we can do it all. We can be a sustainable enterprise while thinking about the ethical values of consumption and capital.
So, what is this jar story of yours? It sounds very fascinating. Huh? So, you've got jars all in your backdrop as well. What does it really signify?
So these are the refillable stations. So anyone can come into the Bare headquarters and get detergents or shampoos or soap, liquid cleaner. You can just take as much as you want, like we used to with the Maniwalas back in the day, all without producing any waste. So you can bring your own containers, or you can use the glass containers that we have over here, and bring as much as you want. And I think it's very democratic. Think about bazaars. We used to go and get as much as we want. And then suddenly along the way came the Western-inspired grocery stores that are giving you a pre-dictated amount of packaged food. So again, this is I think, in alignment with our Indian values.
So there's one more thing that I've been hearing. We've been all talking about the West and talking about the Westernization, which has not had a very good impact. Now, if you talk to a Westerner, he would feel the other way around, yeah? And they would see the kind of development that they have brought in, the difference that they've made to nations like, in Asia, while they brought in the best of their thought process. So where do you feel this real conflict is while we're talking about the Western mindset? Because I feel largely it's about a mindset rather than just looking at being Western or whatever. So where do you see this whole conversation that we can really take forward?
Excellent question, Surana. I think honestly there are lots of great things. I don't mean to just what the West has done in many ways in terms of women's rights. I think we've tremendously made strides, and that is large to a lot of values associated with democracy and liberalization and modernization. Activate us women to go up the households. I think there have been great positive strides. But I do think the rate at which environmental resources are being used are unsustainable, and we are aiming this Western model of consumption that is unhealthy. Not just on our own minds, bodies, lifestyles, but also the earth that's being. So, if we are putting all of this plastic back into the soil and water, which then we're trying to grow our food on, of course we're going to have lots of health implications, and of course the cancer rates are, products that we use on a daily basis in our personal care and home care products are known carcinogens as declared by the World Health Organization. So I think. I think we're at an interesting time in India. So we can see the good things that have happened and maybe the things that didn't go so well. And we're at the crossroads. And we can decide for ourselves which way we want to go. And that's why it's just India. I think developing cities are in a very, very interesting time. So, we can pick which way we want to go. So, yes, that's, I think, very exciting and encouraging.
I think that's a very good perspective that you've brought in. So I think there are merits and demerits of everything that we do. And I think the awareness is to be aware of the damages that are coming along with something. And the sooner we realize that, the better it is. And I think now the whole globe probably is realizing the damage that we've together caused, And I think being unaware itself is a damage that one is bringing to oneself and your community. So I think both ways, I being somebody who has been offended because of this whole consumption cycle. So I think we are equally at fault when we allowed this thing to happen. So I think when we look at our nation or we look at our youth, I think it's important that we don't allow this to happen to any one of ourselves now anymore, considering that if we don't consume, then there is nobody to actually then, people will have to change their models. So again, tell me about your jar that you just showed me right now, which is the waste that you have collected in 1 year or 3 years.
Yeah. So once in items just we live most sustainably. What is the first thing we all do when we wake up in the morning? Brush our teeth. And we presumably use a toothbrush. So I just tried to examine my lifestyle and started using a miswak. And then I realized that I honestly just missed the sensation of brushing. So then I started using a bamboo toothbrush. So the idea that we create sticky products that are all alternatives to single-use plastic. We have straws that are made out of stainless steel, food grade certified. We also have coconut leaf-based ones that are more accessible to coconut walas and nariyal walas. So the idea is to create these products that are sustainable, that are rethinking the way we're currently consuming, and helping everyone live a lifestyle that is more mindful, weight-free. And yeah, that's basically it. So my jar has products, I compost all my food waste. I dress only in ethical fashion. I get lots of local cloth and get my local Makus tailor to make them. Jar has some of the things that are my non-recycling waste. Maybe a medicine cover, music concert stands, or the contact lenses. So the contact lenses case. Also like football players, sometimes like that. Rubber covers here. So these are some things that I have in my jar that non-recycling.
So this is yearly or a 3-year?
Currently, I'm on 3 years.
Oh, so that's interesting. And I think we can all start doing this, because then that's a measure. So this, as soon as you see a measure for yourself, then probably one can figure out it well. So what would you like to share more in terms of zero waste? And yes, but one thing that occurred to me is, while you are doing all this, having easy accessibility of these kind of products in your neighborhood, where you need them, but even if you want them, how easily are these products accessible is the point now. So where do you think that how can one look at sourcing these kind of products?
Yeah, sure. So, I started living this lifestyle for personal reasons. And along the way, I had lots of people asking me, how are you living like this? Where can I source this from? And as a result, I started Barenecessities, which is an ethical business that basically employs only local women, many of them who haven't finished school or graduated, and essentially creates employment opportunities. And we create sustainable products that are all alternative single-use plastic, and essentially thereby helping it be more accessible for people like you and I who want to, maybe buy bamboo toothbrush but don't know where. So the idea, we retail at 50 different across the country and on our website and on Amazon, Flipkart, and that's what we're trying to make it other people. We also do lots of workshops and talks where we teach people how to make their own product. So, we won't offer everyone in the world to buy necessities for the most comfortable price. But the idea is to create a business changing mindset and then sustainability. So that's why you have to make your own. So you can use products that are using ingredients that are just native to your location or your flour, and thereby using waste. This can democratize the process, make sustainability this much part of just the reality, and kind of share through our talks and workshops about the environmental hazards, the health impacts, but also the social justice issues associated with our waste problem. Because very often the way is picked up by people who are the socioeconomic classes that are disenfranchised. How can we just be more mindful about our waste and listen that we get?
So I just shared about the fashion colloquia before you stepped into the conversation. And it's all about responsible fashion. And I was sharing that fashion and lifestyle, it's all together, that goes hand in hand. And why we wanted to share, because the footprint of fashion is too large on the planet in terms of, while it's been talked about being exploitative, it's volume based, it's getting, it's an impact on the environment. Yes, but it has a lot of merits also, because it brings a lot of cultures together. It brings, it bonds people with different cultures. So that's what I see the fashion, business has largely into. So, because you are using these kind of lifestyle products, which is completely a statement of fashion as well. So when you look at the youth today, their whole concept of fashion is very, Western. So when I look at people like you, I see them as fashion icons. And yeah. And how would you like to, what is your message to the youth? Because you know that Arch is a design school and we have a lot of young people who are watching you right now, and they're very keen to know that, because we run programs in fashion, jewelry, graphics, interiors, and products, services. These are things which are constantly what they are creating all the time. So give me a couple of these, give these young people a couple of insights that you want to, in terms of how they should look at their education and a career that when they want to build in, what is that they need to keep in mind?
Sure. First of all, congratulations on all your amazing work with the fashion came throughout. Thanks for inspiring the future generations of Indians to design better products and think about ways in sustainability and how we can design better products. So first, congratulations. I think, honestly, I think this millennial, we are seeing a trend in, youth who want to consume products that align with their values. And they don't just want to consume anything. I think, in this era where fast fashion became very easy, accessible, it was really influenced by different photos, by different Instagram posts, etc. But I think I'm definitely seeing a shift in mindset, in values. And people want to consume and align their values with their emotion, which I think is really encouraging. I think, I studied environmental law and now I'm designing sustainable toothbrushes and soaps and detergent. So I think, one advice I think I would say is be bold in the vision that you want to create for yourself and the world that we are living in. I think we are living has a lot of problems, social, health, environmental. And if through design, we can design better products that we use on a daily basis, products that we wear on a daily basis, that can be more functional, that can be more educational, that can be more informative, that can help us as a generation become more woke in the way we live, consume, treat people with compassion, treat the earth with compassion, treat our elders with compassion. I think there's so much design can do, and design really helps tell stories of life. And it really helps communicate who we are through our clothing. So I think there is just, the sky is the limit when it comes to design. And I think we're living in a really interesting time where design is becoming so important. Just for example, the FMCG industry or the fast fashion industry hasn't seen that much innovation. And now we are definitely seeing a shift with slow fashion. With small eco brands coming up that are challenging the bigger brands and saying, hey, why not?
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a shift in the tide. And I honestly am really encouraged and optimistic about it. And I think for any of your future students or other students, I think the one thing I would say is just dream big and do it.
Wonderful. So I was seeing your profile and I just figured out that you worked with the WHO headquarters in Geneva, and I was fortunate to be there in the year 2005. Yeah. I was a part of a Rotary Foundation exchange program, and I realized that, and you studied at Cambridge, right? So having studied in the Western world, when did you really pick up? Was it there that your childhood, while you were very young, you understand the whole concept of zero waste, or was it much later after your education in these prominent institution like Cambridge or having been at WHO that you realized the importance of zero waste?
Yeah, sure. So honestly, I grew up spending all of my weekends in the park, family trips in nature, with my dad, my big sister, and my mom. So I think as a family, those were things that we really enjoyed doing together. So I think I've been an environmentalist since I've been like a whole year ago. But I think I only started identifying myself as an environmentalist. I want to think about issues around sustainability when I moved to college, when I was maybe that I started articulating this or thinking about it through courses that I was taking. And I specifically watched a short documentary on this woman named Leah Johnson, who was leading a zero waste lifestyle. So she had a class, except that was the waste with 2 kids and a husband, and for 4 years. And I just remember being like amazed, but also thinking I could never do that. I'm a college student. I have 3 jobs on campus, scholarship to maintain. And then, nevertheless, I was really inspired using my bottle, my cloth bag, etc., and adopted different lifestyle changes that I thought were flexible to me. But ever since kind of been studying and working on various other issues academically and in the workspace. And then I moved back after my stint at India, which was during the Ebola outbreak. So honestly, I got to see a lot of countries work unitedly really quickly for fast action on the ground. And that was very, very inspiring for me. But I wanted to leave the chief job on the 7th floor of the WHO overlooking the mountains. And I moved back to India and I worked in rural India, primarily in rural Karnataka. And I worked on solar energy solutions for community underserved in places in India that have 2 hours of electricity, that have 8. So we were basically working on solar energy solutions to solarize agri equipment for farmers, solarize sewing machines for small local entrepreneurs, solarize the weed, the rooms, things like that. And the idea was to, one, spend time in the community, do a need assessment, understand what the gaps are, and then design solutions that are in sync or really truly reflecting what the need is. And then we did some prototypes, keep creating, and once successful, we to the social enterprise that has about 50 branches and the operations and maintenance, everything can take. But I think through that experience, I really understood more about designing for the need of what people here really need, and not just designing from a top-down perspective, but designing from a ground-up perspective. And that's, I think, basically skills that I learned at Circle Foundation. Spending every 7 days, I was in any rural village in Karnataka. I literally would just have a backpack, a bamboo toothbrush, and a couple of kurtas. And on any overnight bus, or any train ride, and wake up in the morning to these gorgeous places. So I think I'm just sharing my journey to say that I learned various things about environmental. I think academically, and when I studied it from a very academic perspective. And then we looked at the problems and the environmental problems from a more health perspective. And then moving to India and working in rural India, working with underserved communities, I think I really looked at it from a design problem solution and what we could do from the ground. So I think the evolution of my thought process has changed, and it's been really I think all of my experiences have been really just informative, educative, and I'm so grateful for all of those, helping me look at problems from a multidimensional, interdisciplinary way.
Okay, so what are the challenges that you have now looking forward?
Sure. Great question. I'm a small entrepreneur, so there are just little things like sustainable options sometimes are more expensive. For example, to ship out our dispatchment, we use paper tape. And 10 rolls of paper tape are 3,000 rupees versus 6 rolls of plastic sellotape are 600 rupees. Okay. So there are one being sustainable makes sense for the environment and longevity-wise. In the interim, it is a cost that you have to take. So I think there are challenges on access to finance, for example. Where we are actually in the midst of closing our seed round, which is really exciting. So I'm really lucky to have investors who believe in the social mission, but also about how we can scale this and take this forward. But I think in general, there are statistics on how women entrepreneurs don't have access to finance. If you look at all the startups in India, they're disproportionately funded, by male founders. So I think there is an access to finance issue that we must address. And it's not in India, it's actually worldwide. No journey is without its challenges. But I will say that I'm super lucky to have a really dynamic, motivated, amazing team with me to care about the same mission and vision. So I think I'm surrounded by the best people possible to make products that are sustainable, more accessible to everyone.
So when we started the conversation, we started with the dadi and the nani, right? Our grandmothers. We didn't talk about our mothers, because that's the generation which actually got spoiled. I have a feeling, because I feel that, when abundance came in or whatever. So I think we probably, the more westernized approach started coming in, maybe some 3 decades back, right? 4 decades back, when actually our mothers were young, right? So they became the consumers. So this generation has largely seen the mothers actually be that way, but not really their grandmothers, how they shaped up their lives. So I think, it's very important. I strongly feel that at times when I look at a lot of young people, it's very important that the family is at the core, and it is at the values are largely in the family that one has to look at. And with the nuclear families being there, those values which your grandmothers actually passed on are really now diminishing, right? So in this scenario, I feel that women really need to be talked about, because, and I think, are we really communicating with this generation of women who are like 35 or 30, 35 or whatever, who've really seen their parents wanted to give them the best, and a lot of abundance, and then we're trying to give our children more and more, making sure that we keep them comfortable because we have heavy, hectic lifestyles and things. So do you have some views on this as well? Because I run a women mentors forum in the city, and I truly feel that women need to be more aware, because they are a great influencer, and they have an influence on the family, in the society, and we largely forget that there's lots, at least in this generation now, that women really need to again acknowledge that they are at the source of creation, and what they can bring forth can be really very fast. And so have you ever tried to mobilize regarding this? While you have your product range which you're selling through, you have a story to say in your product story that you have you ever tried to reach out to women or to schools or colleges and talk about something like this?
Yeah. I think it's a great question, and I deeply care about women's rights issues. I've also been raised by a very strong female group, and I have to be accessible. So I definitely mirror values around women's rights, things like that. And us women being kind of core of family communities. They say you educate a man and you educate a person, but you educate a woman and you educate an entire village, and that is so, so true. And here at Barenecessities, we mirror those values, and that's why we have a local manufacturing team. We also really care about upskilling, so they're learning computer skills on the side, they're learning English, etc. But back to your point about the generation parallel from our grandmothers and our moms, honestly, I have so much respect for my mom and that generation, because I think they were at this cusp. They had to do it all. Maybe our nannies had the luxury of or maybe they're disadvantaged, but they didn't have the opportunity to have the opportunity that my mom did. I think that generation, though, has managed to balance both values. They're so agile. My mom is full on Instagram and technology in a way that's really pretty phenomenal, but also is so true to the values of my nanny. So I think she actually is the best of both worlds. And also, to be honest, I think that generation had a lot of pressure to make it in life, right? So if you are working super hard, and if you like the convenience of big basket groceries just delivered to you or whatever, or just groceries and stuff like that or food that is already made, etc. That was kind of the things that you have to balance at that time. Maybe that allowed women to get out and have these amazing jobs and stuff like that. Maybe our grandparents generation. So it's not for them they're not to blame, but it was just the society has become so organized and so used to this convenience culture, and they need that convenience because now they're trying to work and raise the kids all by themselves, but also being a good mom, having values, having fun, all of that. I don't blame for what happened, but I think now we know more, and that's why it's up to us, this generation, to make changes and align our values of what we think is right. And now, since we have all of the research, the IPCC report is out, and knowledge is, flexible at the tip of our fingers with our phone, and now we have no excuses. So we need to do better now.
Not to blame, but yes, definitely there was a shift in their mindset in terms of using consumer products when the market was flooded with 50 kinds of toothpaste and the television selling on and on and on and everything made so aspirational. So, they have been a part of that generation, were the first time users of mobile phones, the first time users of this, this inflow of products that is completely there. So it's really overwhelming, right? And I understand that this generation is now still gotten used to it now, that it's already there. So I think that's good, because I think, this kind of values is something that, I think why I'm talking about this is because I strongly feel that at times we want to give our children so much that, we actually give them too many things than they actually require. So why I want to, because there are a lot of women, probably because this chat of ours is also going to go on YouTube and we're going to promote it too. So I want to really get women present to the fact that in the family, it is them who really have to get conscious and get the men and the other, in the family to be more aware about, and because it's again about changing their mindset again. And because ultimately she's the lady who's buying for the household. And when we're talking about especially products to do with our daily use, that's it's very important to be address this issue. Yeah. And so it was lovely chatting with you, and I really wish you good, and do come and visit to us in Jaipur whenever you are, a beautiful pink city, a heritage city. And while we're talking about responsible fashion, if you can make it over by the end of this month, and it's an exciting time with a lot of international people who are coming over to Jaipur, because everybody wants to see what India is and revisit. And because the beauty of India is that we have that freshness, that we keep, reinventing ourselves very fast, and we are very dynamic and a very tolerant and a beautiful nation. And that's the beauty that we all hold. And I think that's what everybody is very, they find us very exotic, right? So, yeah. So,
I mean, lineup of speakers and everything so well curated. So thanks for doing everything that you do, and thanks for inviting me for this conversation. I had a really fun time chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Lovely.